Hi, I'm Chris McCoy, and welcome to the Memphis Flyer podcast. Every week we hop on here on YouTube and elsewhere to tell you what's going on in Memphis and what's in the paper this week. And I am joined by Micaela Watts.
Howdy.
Today, who was one of the people who wrote Community Trust Suffers, our current cover story. And Micaela, thank you so much for
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Joining us today.
Super appreciative.
So I think this is really good, really timely, of course, because the story is about kind of like what happened in D.C. when they did something similar to what they're doing here in Memphis, when the Trump administration deployed the National Guard for just regular crime, like prevention or whatever. And so why don't you tell the folks about the story, about what y'all found?
Sure. That was written with my wonderful colleague, Magna, who's a professor of practice at the University of Memphis, and he recently joined us at the Institute. We're super excited to have him. And
yes, the Institute. Tell them about the Institute. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, so I work at the Institute for Public Service Reporting. This is a small nonprofit investigative newsroom. We aren't a daily. We don't do the turn and burn stories. Our work is slow and methodical, and on the one hand we get to take our time and go through meticulous reporting, so we can have stories like that, but on the other hand we're always just going to be a little bit behind the news cycle, so we're currently working now to gather as much reporting as we can about what we see on the ground today.
So tell us, what did you find that had, because DC is a few weeks ahead of us in this situation. Tell us what y'all found.
Right. So the thing that I heard from advocates in DC is kind of similar to what we're sort of seeing play out in Memphis right now, right? The National Guard, to be frank, many people hold the opinion that it is pure pageantry, and there's no doubt that there are crime issues in DC and Memphis, like with most other metropolitan cities, but never in any, the National Guard has not ever in its history been dispersed in this way to deal with your day-to-day low-level offenses and high-level offenses. So we're not really looking at the National Guard. That's what's grabbing all the headlines. But what we really need to look at is the impact of the surge of federal agents. In D.C., what we found by talking with folks is D.C. is, it's right, the seat of our government's right there. All the agencies, all the acronyms, they're right there. So they have that instant capability to just really push even more agents, out than we're seeing in Memphis. And it's about immigration. At the end of the day, we could talk about all the arrests out of D.C. I think the Washington Post they looked at over 1,200 arrests, I want to say, and found, the vast majority of them are for nonviolent offenses or low-level offenses. But in between the shock and awe of the National Guard, it's coming down to immigration enforcement. And the terror that they described in D.C. is what we're hearing now on the ground in Memphis. It is about ICE agents particularly. In D.C., the advocates that we talked to describe some pretty brutal tactics. Like, for instance, the economy of delivery drivers in D.C. is heavily comprised of our immigrant residents. And we had ICE agents, furiously pulling over moped after moped after moped. It's profiling by moped in some ways, and they're making these aggressive maneuvers and pullovers. People are being detained very violently, and we are also seeing, there's just no way to sugarcoat it. Constitutional rights, due process are being completely revoked in a lot of these instances. Even before the announcement of this Memphis task force was upon us, after Trump was inaugurated, we all saw video of men who were wearing masks, did not show badges, did not identify themselves, and busted into a fucking taco truck and kidnapped people. Should I?
It's the fucking Flyer. We can say it.
It's the fucking Flyer.
Yeah.
Miss you guys.
But Micaela used to work for the Flyer probably 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, that's where we met, and I've always been a huge fan of your work, and
Likewise.
I appreciate you coming back to bless us with your with your knowledge a little bit.
I miss getting paid to drink on the clock.
Well, that's That happens. Yeah.
Very, not often. Okay.
My favorite one ever was we did a story on hangover cures one time, a cover story, and we do.
I remember that.
Yeah, sometimes we do these cover stories where we like all the staff gets together and we'll do like a little bits of something. And mine was to try the IV, cure, which is like $75 or whatever. But they gave me like a free one, but they were like, you got to show up hungover, right? So we went to see George Clinton in Parliament Funkadelic at the New Daisy, and I walk up to the bar, and I was like, I want you a double whiskey on the rocks. It's for work.
The bartender was like, sure, pal.
Sure, pal.
Yeah, all right.
No, it really was. And I'll tell you that the IV cure works like a charm. But you know what's even easier than that? Don't get stinking drunk.
Yeah. I was about to say, I feel like I have the cure for that at home, which is going to bed at 8 with a cup of tea.
Yeah.
How the mighty have fallen.
Oh, I know. But it's okay. It's okay.
Is.
But there's a little levity to add to the story here. One thing I found very striking in the story is you mentioned the economic impacts in the city of D.C. What does that look like?
Yeah, I was trying to do a little more research on that ahead of our chat today, and I think it is starting to kind of tilt back to normal as the actual number of the visibility of the soldiers is starting to decline. Mm-hmm. I was in D.C. last week by chance for a conference, and I think I popped out of my hotel, several times for meals. So I was in like the Chinatown area, and just anecdotal, like the entire time I was there, I think I saw 9 soldiers scattered out through 3 different locations, right? So I think they're starting to slowly rebound, but certainly at the time I was reporting this, the people I talked to didn't say everything had completely bottomed out, but they said, the ripple effects are a thing when your delivery force is being terrorized by masked people. They lost a lot. That economy took a hit, which affects the restaurants in other ways. And then that's even before you get to people showing up to sit at tables. And DC residents, as was told to me, just a lot of them said, no, thank you. I'm seeing a lot of stuff, and I'm a person of color. I'm an undocumented person. I'm going to stay at home, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know how that is normalizing, if it's normalizing in DC now, but it just, those numbers take a long time to find. But just from being there, it seemed okay.
Yeah,
right?
It seemed better.
Yeah. But I mean, certainly not what you would expect going to just a super busy urban core, right?
Yeah, and especially some place with as much tourism as DC.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I if you are going to Chicago or Brooklyn or LA, you're going to dodge and weave, just about everywhere you go. DC is that as a high, they don't have as high of a population, but it does have that density. And so the entire time I was there, I was able to just kind of weave around pretty easily. Ubers arrived in 2 minutes, Mm-hmm. I think the most congestion I saw was outside of the homecoming game for the Washington Capitals. Homecoming, season opener. Wow.
Yeah.
I work at a college, so.
You don't cover sports.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
I'm starting to think that might be the only path towards sanity in this profession. I don't know. You get your data handed to you, but anyways.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been hearing anecdotally, I have been hearing anecdotally here anyways, that the businesses on Summer have been really suffering in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that downtown is quieter than normal. Too. What have you got? But this is anecdote.
Sure. I mean, right. And that's what makes all of this so hard, because it is anecdotal. We don't have anything solid we can point to yet. And we will eventually. But certainly, I think, if you just go to downtown Memphis right now, it's not as busy as it normally is on a weekday night. And granted, it's Memphis. We're not at any given moment, we don't have just absolute chaos downtown, but we have foot traffic, and it's been pretty bare when I've driven around. I've been spending a lot of time in my car driving around Memphis, and certainly I'm seeing empty dining rooms on Summer Avenue. I walked into Los Camales the other day, like at lunch rush, and I was like one of two tables. The other two tables seated were also, alabaster bastards like myself. And it just, to me, it's really visible and you can feel it. I also, I'm a birder, like I'm an intense birder.
Oh, really?
Right. And so I drive.
That's cool.
I don't know what happened. I turned 40 and then bam.
I know, right?
Like, is that a great-titted warbler? Like it just really sneaks up on you.
I used to be a punk rocker, and now I look for birds. Yeah.
Migration season, y'all. There's no such thing as a great-titted warbler, by the way. I just made that up.
Unless the warbler has great tits. Wow.
They're known for that, truly. Beautiful songbirds, great tits. I need to get some sleep. But
it's the flyer. It's the
flyer.
It's the flyer. Yeah.
But no, like the best birding spots in Memphis are in North Memphis and South Memphis, the alleged war zones. I spend a ton of time in these areas interacting with just regular everyday folk, and there's definitely more of a chill in the streets. And as well as like kind of a variety of opinion too, right? Like not everyone is against this. Not everyone is alarmed. Mm-hmm. But certainly to kind of go back to what we were talking about, it is noticeable in Memphis, I think, especially if you are driving around in North and South. Memphis, you're going to see a lot of law enforcement out, and not nearly as much just like activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the variety of opinion, I've heard that too, and to me, it's like I can understand that, especially a lot of these neighborhoods in Frayser and South Memphis who have had so much trouble with crime historically. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can certainly understand people there getting completely fed up.
Totally.
But it just doesn't seem to me that this is that this is really the solution, because it's not going to. It's not. It just doesn't seem like it's going to stick.
Right.
I mean, they can do it temporarily, but if they put $100 million into poverty anti-poverty programs, you probably get just as good.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't it always kind of go back to this? You have, community advocates who have been banging their heads against the walls for decades, pointing to things that actually work to reduce crime. These are not mystery solutions. They just take time,
right?
And they take intentionality. And I would not fault anybody who I've talked to that will look at me and say, like, I'm glad they're here. I'm scared to death in my neighborhood. I'm tired of this gun violence. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course you are. But in my opinion, this is a Band-Aid on a hemorrhage. If you're not going to really make a sustained investment in infrastructure, we already know what that looks like because we're living with it. We know what it looks like with a massively defunded education system, public transit system, a lack of fresh food, a lack of opportunity. I could go on and on and on. And
throw a whole bunch of guns into the mix, too.
A whole bunch of guns and absolutely no regulations at all. Mm. And, look, we can have the talk all day long about personal responsibility, and everybody has choices. Like, no one is making anybody drive 90 miles an hour down Poplar Avenue.
Yeah.
Certainly not. But at the same time, like, there's got to be a balance to that conversation. And for too many people, they just see one side of it and they just think arresting our way out of this is going to work. And if you listen to any MPD director in recent history, they'll tell you themselves that it does not work. You cannot arrest your way out of crime, and you can't arrest your way out of poverty. And that's just what it is, facts over feelings, shit.
You look at, I keep bringing up the Baltimore model, because Baltimore started after the Freddie Gray case. They started police reform. They had a lot of violence interrupters on the street now. And they had something like 5 homicides in the first quarter, and this is Baltimore, as a city so famous for the crime that The Wire, there was literally a TV show about the crime in Baltimore.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they've turned it around, but it took time. It took 7 years.
Yeah.
And to me, the Baltimore model is what we should all be working towards, and there has been some of that in Memphis. There's been, I've talked to several people who are violence interrupters. I can't remember the organization right now, but
there's a few of them.
There's a few of them, that's really helped. But and all of them say, whenever you're talking, all of them is like, we need after school stuff for the kids to do, to keep them busy to give them some kind of hope or whatever. And you see a big triumph like the Central High School band, best band in the land,
literally.
And you see, well, this here is the solution. This here is the real solution. You give people hope. You give them something to, to do. Anyways, we could preach.
We could absolutely preach. I mean, especially I know it seems easy for us, two white people, to sit here and just, preach about what we actually need. But the thing is, you and I are reporters, we're members of the media, and our job is to quite literally talk to people who are involved in this work.
Mm-hmm.
And after doing this for, a decade and just there's so many people in Memphis who are so committed and so passionate to disrupting these patterns.
Mm-hmm.
They just need, if they would kill for, well, that's a poor phrase to use right now.
They would really like,
the amount, a fraction of the amount of city investment in methods that work, as opposed to just arrest.
Because if that was going to work, I mean, the answer always seems to be more jump out boys, and I understand the visceral, oh yeah, we got to get tough, but if that worked, it would have worked already.
Truly, if throwing the majority of your revenue and your city budget behind law enforcement was effective, Memphis would look a lot different right now.
Yeah, because 41% the last I saw of the budget goes to policing.
Yeah.
That's
a big chunk of our budget.
It's a big chunk.
It's the largest one.
Yeah. So another thing from the story that I found really disturbing is the descriptions of the conditions that the people who have been picked up for immigration administrative. It's an administrative warrant, right?
Mm-hmm.
People have been picked up for immigration violations and are being detained. The conditions that these people are being detained in. I found that very disturbing.
Yeah, it is disturbing. And when we asked ICE, Homeland Security, about this, they vehemently denied it. They sent a very expressive statement back to me.
They were all caps.
They
were all caps.
I mean, it was they described every single arrest as just a violent criminal terrorist, and we know absolutely the case in Washington and now the case in Memphis is that people are being pulled over, and maybe they did miss a step in the process to become naturalized. That's a civil violation. That's not a criminal offense. And so what we learned, speaking with advocates in DC, they talk about, the level of arrests for immigration rose so quickly. Where do you put everybody all of a sudden? So the answer, as it turns out, you put them in field offices, you put them in the janitor's closet, you put them anywhere where there's sitting room. So there are a lot of reports of people who, are not getting to talk to their attorneys in a timely manner, and they are not being kept in humane conditions at all. In the Memphis area, it's going to take a little bit quicker to get to that story. It's going to take a minute to really figure out how the conditions are, like in Mason, for example. I can tell you, recently helping someone else with a story, I went down to a facility in Monroe, Louisiana, and the subject of the story there was a father who's been, no criminal history, again, just pulled over while driving brown, essentially, missed a step somewhere a long time ago and is now, back in Honduras. But the conditions his kids described, maybe you're going to get a meal at 4:30, maybe you're going to get a, slice of bread for lunch 12 hours later. The lights are going to stay on 24 hours a day. It's just, and there's no uniform policy that all of these facilities are following. And I mean, there should be in theory, but so many of these places are contracted out by local municipalities. They're renting out their jails for ICE arrests. And so the reports coming in are just, they're different, but they all have an underlying theme of just not really being fed enough. And that, among other horrors. So, yeah. And
we have enough trouble with the jail here anyways at 201.
Yeah, our jail is about to crumble into dust.
Yeah. Which is just a whole other issue. So let's throw a whole bunch of people, a bunch more people in it.
I mean, our criminal justice system, again, because our only approach is to really forcefully back up incarceration and arrests. And And so as a result, our local criminal justice system was already overwhelmed before this surge of agents came here. So we know that they'll be sending some arrests to Mason. That's what's been said. We don't know exactly what that'll look like or if we're at that point yet.
Micaela, thank you so much for coming on today. And let's keep in touch. We'd love to have you back because I know you're going to be monitoring all this stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'd love to come back and just keep talking about this issue and of course about the great cheeked, titted, tuft mouse. Just whatever. Whatever's out there. Yeah.
I'm speaking on behalf of Sarah. We'd probably take a birding story from you.
Look, I mean, how about this? Drunk birding.
Drunk birding. Boom. That's got Memphis Flyer written all over it right there. Drunk birding.
You hear that,
Anna? She would totally do that. She would totally do that. All right. This has been the Memphis Flyer podcast. Y'all stay strong out there. We will see you next week.